May I have your attention, please? Good evening.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. We thank you for tuning in and hope you enjoy another exciting episode of our show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. It's six-man Dean Geronimo. Welcome to September, ladies and gentlemen. But as always, from NJ to NC, I'm in the studio with my right-hand man, Mark Lee. So, Mark, tell me what's good in your neck of the woods, my brother.
Well, you know, I'm over here just chilling here in Durham, North Carolina, seeing what's going on in the world. Just finished doing my other two streaming podcasts, which you will get the information about, and you'll put them on our lovely network. But I just finished doing those, and there were two great conversations. One with Krista Bodie-Smith talking about the fact that we need to have thoughts about our final wishes and things of that nature. And, you know, a lot of times we don't want to deal about those hard issues, but as I've told you before, my buddy Ray is always talking about that we know our birth date because we oftentimes celebrate it, and none of us really know our expiration date. But unfortunately, as living beings, we've all got those. So she's talking about how we need to be prepared, and she's written a book called Final Wishes, which is basically about making sure that you've got yourself prepared for whenever that inevitability comes around. So she's written a book about that and giving some people some good, solid advice. She's a businesswoman in the area, and she's had some tragedies in her own life, even losing a sibling and, of course, losing her parents, and I think might have even lost some other folks other than that. But that was all explored in that particular show. And then the gentleman that will hopefully be calling us later on this evening for our show, who wrote a book about Trump and everything that he's been doing, had him on the show, as well as the marketing lady from StreamYard, because like I said, you know, we use that as a platform to get our streaming podcast out. So we had a nice conversation with her, and she's out of Oregon, so we had a conversation in regards to that. And so we had a major person. She gave a little of the history, because I think she's part of that millennial generation as well, but she even gave a little history of the founders of StreamYard, because they've only been in business for, I think the company maybe less than 2 years, and they've been friends for like less than 10. So they're probably in their late 20s, early 30s, but are still kicking it business-wise with their company over there in Oregon. And she was a very engaging conversation. And, of course, Kim Calhoun, who I introduced you to, who's one of the founders of IBM.TV. She popped into the conversation. So it was two businesswomen having a conversation on my show, talking about some commonalities of being businesswomen and things of that nature. So that was some good conversations we've had. And then popped in to check out Alexandria doing her thing yesterday, and she had a musician from Nashville as well as a musician from South Africa. And, of course, she's in South Africa. So I popped in to just watch her show on YouTube and engage in some conversations. The same with the guys that do a conversation around books and creating their own TV show. So you get to watch them whiteboarding, called Talking Upstream. So I engaged in some of their conversation and, of course, produced the shows for Zach and Tish. So been trying to be a busy person, you know, like everybody else. I'm struggling on the financial tip, trying to figure out, you know, when I'm going to get those windfalls that they keep promising me, or when I'm going to win the lottery. Well, wait a minute. You got to play the lottery to win it. So I guess that ain't happening since I ain't gone to the store and bought those $2 or $3 tickets, because I do believe you got to play it to win it. And then I've been following a little bit of the sports things. I'm tied 78-78, but all my players have played. So unless his defense collapses, I think I'm taking an L in that first game. But, you know, it's only the first game of the season. Your Ravens came through. They gave me a lot of good points on defense. Tom Brady gave me some good points, and I had some other good points. So I had some good amount of points. I think I had like 78, so I was up there. But he's probably going to finish with like about 89 or 90, maybe even cross the 100 mark. But Tom Brady did his job. The Ravens defense did their job. But he had that quarterback from Green Bay. And, you know, he ate up the team that I love anyway, the Minnesota Vikings. So he ate them up. So I think he got him like 30 points just off of his play. So, like I said, when I saw that going on, I knew I was in trouble. So I've been following a little bit of the tennis. I saw that Naomi Osaka, I believe is the way she pronounced her name, that she won. And I thought that was a good thing that she won, because she's also the one that's been putting the mask out there and giving different victims of the violence that has gone on their due, because she's been changing the name every time that she won. And I didn't know who she had for the last one when she won the finals, but she has definitely had somebody different each time she's got up there, whether it's George Floyd, whether it's Ahmaud Arbery, or the different other ones. She's had a variety of folks that she has brought there to the forefront. So it was great checking her out and seeing what that was all about. And then I've been watching the basketball. We're down to 5 teams. It should have been 4, but I don't know what's going on with Doc Rivers, my schoolmate, and those Clippers, because they keep jumping out into big leads, and they forget that you got to close them out. You can't just go through the motions. And unfortunately, if you go through the motions, those other teams got players that can pop threes and can pop twos, and next thing you know, you down. So like I said, they were up 3-1 and have lost 2 games back-to-back. So I know that they've got to be facing some serious pressure, both as the favorite and also just because they let those leads blow. So like I said, we'll see what Kawhi's got with him and Paul George, as well as the Denver players in that final game. Game 7, they say it's anybody's game, so I'm not putting it past anybody. Like I said, I'm still rooting for the Clippers because I did go to school with Doc and would like to see him get that second ring. But once you get to a Game 7, it's anybody's guess. So if Denver joins the Lakers, Boston, and Miami, I will not be surprised. But like I said, I'm still hoping that it's a battle of the LAs along with Boston against Miami, an East Coast battle. But either way it goes, I'm not going to be surprised. And we're going to have 2 West Coast teams facing it, whether they're from the same city in the sense of LA or whether it's LA against Denver. And we're going to have an East Coast battle of the Northeast versus the Southeast, because it's going to be Miami against them Boston Celtics. So I think that whoever's in the finals, it ought to be a dandy, whether it's the Lakers against Miami, whether Denver makes it and they go up against Boston, and there's all kinds of other combinations they could come up with the 5 that we've got left now. But whoever comes into the finals, I think that we're in for a treat of the finals. I'm still having a hard time. I don't know about you, but I'm still having a hard time watching the games without fans in the audience, because I do like to see the audience and see the reactions. And I know I'm seeing some reactions like from the TVs and things of that nature, but it's just not the same. Like I said, I like to see some of the celebrities, talking junk and woofing with the players, and see some of the other things that go on when you're at a Coliseum. But we do know we're in the middle of coronavirus, and I heard that Dr. Faust said something about, don't expect this to be over this year. And as a matter of fact, y'all might not need to be expecting to be over well until, next year, the latter part of it, because I think he was saying that he didn't see any light in the tunnel till maybe fall or winter of 2021. So we're talking almost a year from now, and maybe even 15 months or more till he's seeing light at the end of the tunnel. So that's just scary that that's going on, and we still got these things happening in that regard. But it's just going to be interesting to see how things play out.
Well, you know what? The volume of the crowd, I guess, having played football, you kind of zone out. You can hear the crowd when they cheer, but you focus more on what's taking place on the field. So for me, watching the game and being able to hear the little things that you normally wouldn't be able to hear because the crowd noise kind of takes over. So you kind of, for me, I liked it. And then I sat there and just watched, Lamar Jackson, the reigning MVP, do 20 for 25, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and then rush for another 45. So, the Ravens are here, man. Welcome to the flock. You know what I mean? Football is back.
The Ravens seem to be there. The ball, football is definitely back.
Yes,
and
sir.
I was not mad at your Ravens at all. Like I said, unfortunately, I think I'm going to take that ill, because when I looked at the score, we were tied, and I got a big F by my score, meaning that my players have already played. But I got to give your players credit, because like I said, the Ravens defense did give me some 16 points with those 306 total yards allowed, those 2 sacks, and they got some other things that are going on. I think 2 fumble recoveries, an interception, and a couple of other stats that they had. So they did represent you quite well with those 16 points. And I do have a Baltimore receiver, and he did give me about 7 as well. So Marquise Brown is one of my wide receivers.
Hollywood,
so, like I
101
said,
yards, bro.
Yeah. So like I said, he
sir.
did all right. He did not get in the end zone. Otherwise, I might be feeling more comfortable. But unless the Broncos defense just like collapses and Tennessee eats them up to the point of getting minuses, and Eric Ebron with that team over there in Pittsburgh doesn't get any points, like I said, I'm fully expecting to take an L because that's who he's got left, and I don't have anybody left. So that's the way it goes. I'll take an L in the first game. It's like they say with any season. It's a long season. I'll study my lineup, see who I liked, who I didn't like. But right now, I think I'm going to stick with these players because the ones that I had on the bench didn't really do anything major. I might switch up one of the Chicago wide receivers because he got more points than the brother did from the LA Chargers and everything. So I might switch him up. But other than that, I think I might stick with the lineup I got and just hope that I can at least come back to an even season of 1-1 because I'm fully expecting to go down 0-1. But I've had that happen in seasons past with fantasy football, and I've bounced back and at least been in the playoffs, in the running. Like I told you last year, I was in the Final Four, got knocked out in that first game, but I did win the consolation game. So I got that third prize money. So I made the top 4. So, I'm trying to make it to the top 2 this time. And if I got to take an L here and there, I'll just take the L's because, that's the nature of sports. Sometimes you got to take an L. Like you said, you played, so you know how sometimes you got those L's to take.
Yeah, you got to take them, man. When they come, it is what it is, But at the same time, it's interesting to play, like fantasy football, and you the thing is say, I'll optimize it for you. And I made that mistake of, go ahead and optimize it for me, and they took Baltimore's defense off. So then, I got Philadelphia's defense, and that didn't work out too well at all. I got 3 points where I would have had 15, and had I paid attention, I hit the optimize, and I closed right out of it. And then I'm like, man, you messed up on that one, Jack. Like, you didn't
Well, I can't really talk about you on that because I did something similar because, like I said, I got players that I like, but I was, you know me, I'm involved in a lot of different things. So I think I was actually producing one of Zach's shows at the time that the draft was going on, or I might have been producing Zach and Tish's show. But I was definitely doing some production work. And so I drafted probably about half my team, but the other half was drafted by the computer. But like I said, so far I'm satisfied, but I'm also studying the draft wires, and I might try to pick up a player here and there. And I don't know how your league is doing it, but because of the virus and the fact that the virus is impacting sports, we are instituting new things that we did not have before. Like we never in our league ever had what you call it, I'm getting ready to come up with the name because we just started it this year, but we had never had a taxi squad. But because, Tuffa might eliminate people and they might be stuck on the sideline, that you can pick up like a player if they are restricted. But, of course, they've got to be restricted and on the actual NFL coronavirus quarantine list. In other words, our commissioner has made it very clear he doesn't want people going willy-nilly just picking up players because they don't like the player that they got. So, we got to play by the rules. So, like I said, if the person is actually sick and actually, going through the coronavirus procedures that the NFL has placed in part, then you can put them on your taxi squad and you can pick up another player. But don't be thinking, he made it very clear, don't be thinking you're going to go willy-nilly and just pick up folks because you don't like them that week.
You know what? I don't know, man. If you want to change, you should be able to go ahead and change, and because every week it doesn't really. It's predicated on how well they play. So you may have someone who has, like Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown had an outstanding game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he's coming off an injury, so some people probably say, well, he wasn't going to probably do a lot. But he did his thing. So now,
he did.
Whoever picked him up, you got some points. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And he played, and we're looking for that next week at 4:25 at the kickoff against the Houston Texans. So, if my fantasy football team sucks, but the Ravens do their thing and play like they did last year, play better than they did, and get past that playoff round and make it to the big dance. If they make it that far, then it'll be awesome. You know what I mean? So
it'd be real awesome. That'd be a wonderful thing if they can have that happen. Like I said, I wrote for the Vikings, been a Vikings fan all my life pretty much, or at least since my teen years, and they took an L, against a team that is not run, but is definitely supported by a longtime friend and actually a college friend that I've known ever since my college years. And Miss Janine grew up around Green Bay, so she had to call and basically abuse me because she was basically like, "Yeah, my team just knocked your team out in the first game." So I've already been abused already once this year. I'm sure I'll get abused again if Malik's Bears, that'd be my younger brother, if they knocked me out as well. But as soon as they won, I got a text and then later a phone call. So I'm sitting there going like, I can't win for losing. Like I said, my fantasy team's going down. My Vikings went down. I'm not sure what the heck the Clippers are doing, but they ain't exactly trying to win. So the Brewers are in the hunt, but they ain't quite there. I think they're like 2 or 3 games back, but they're still in the hunt. So all my teams are trying to give me a little bit of heart palpitations, to put it that way. But they're keeping it interesting. So they are definitely keeping it interesting, and we'll see how things play out. But right now they're keeping it very interesting because the last time I checked on the Brewers, they were not doing good. And in the midst of all of this, we got politics going on because we got people running to be president. And I think today our senators, one of our current senators, Tom Tillis, is having his first debate with Cal Cunningham. So we're going to see what happens with that. But they're having a debate and going to see about getting that Senate seat because Tom Tillis, as a lot of folks know, is already in the Senate, but Cal Cunningham wants to take him away from that job. So we're going to see how that plays out. And I was right. The Brewers are currently in third place, but it's real tight. In that Central Division, the Cubs are up with a 28-20 record. The Cardinals are 20-20, right at 500 and 2 games back. And the Brewers are at a losing record, but close to 500 with 20-24. So, like I said, 4 games back for the Cardinals from the Cubs, 6 games back for the Brewers, and the Brewers are 2 games back from the wild card race as well. So, like I said, they're not out of the picture because they're 2 games back in the wild card race, and hopefully they can catch either the Cardinals or one of the other wild card teams. But that's where they're standing right now. So they need to get on a winning streak during this time since this is an abbreviated season. I think that there's only maybe 60 games or something like that. So if we're already at close to 50, they ain't but like 12 games to go. So like I said, folks if they're going to try to make it, they need to make their push now because I want to say that it's an abbreviated season, and I want to say it was like around 60 games, which is crazy because, baseball usually got like 180 or some ridiculous amount, and they're only going to have 60 this year in baseball. So I'm sitting there going like, that don't even sound right. But they also, I think just about everybody makes it this year because usually it's like, I think maybe, I forget how many teams make it, but they've added more teams. So more teams will be making it this year because they expanded what's going on. But it's going to be real interesting to see how the 2020 season plays out because I want to say that, what are they talking about? Reggie Jackson was Mr. October, and I'm not even sure if we're going to be playing in October, if that's going to be playoff time based on what their new season was supposed to be about and everything. Because, as a matter of fact, I just did a rundown of the list of the schedules, and it looks like it's stopping on the 27th. And that would be about right if they're looking at it 60 games. So it looks like the season will be ending at around the end of September, which means that the playoffs would be around October. So if you're going to be Mr. October, I guess you're going to be Mr. October if you're going to follow in Reggie's footsteps after the playoffs have started. So I guess you have to be Mr. October in October.
Possibly.
In the playoffs.
Possibly. We gotta.
So what are you thinking about the political office? I know we got a guest. I won't talk to him about politics because he's got some political thoughts for us. But what is your thoughts about the race? I know a number of folks have been paying attention and they're thinking that things are in the bag. But I've heard some folks saying that they want folks to go kind of almost opposite of what the Clippers have been doing. They want to go into the race thinking that you're losing, even if you are ahead, so that you are not cocky and you wind up losing like what happened with Hillary. So I've heard a number of folks say that they think that the best strategy is to go in there and pretend as if you are not winning, even if the standings say that you are. So what are your thoughts on that?
it's going to come down to who votes for who on election day. You could talk about all this, this person's leading in the polls, this person's not doing enough, and this and everything else. But it's going to come down to each person's individual vote. And whoever has the most votes and the backing of the Electoral College, as we have seen, will be our next president. We've seen where the popular vote was for one and the electoral vote was for another. And whoever received the most electoral votes has become the president of our nation. So, all of the talk, and it sounds nice. It's like talking trash before a football game. And then it's kickoff time, and the team who thought they had it in the bag gets blown out because they didn't properly prepare. So it's something where, you can't even go by, the popular vote is for this individual, so they will become the next president. We've watched it more than once happen the other way around. And, so it's a lot of people who have lost friendships and all of that stuff because, you're not voting for my candidate, so I don't deal with you anymore. But at the same time, when you look at the government and you look at it overall, nobody's ever going to be 100% happy with whomever gets in that seat. Then they forget to, or they just choose not to vote in congressional, state, and local elections where things really happen. And so then when things really go the opposite way, they blame folks, you didn't vote for my candidate for the president. Well, I'm sorry, but you didn't vote for the people who make the laws and who also have power to override a veto. So before you go flapping off at the lips, you might want to be a little careful about that because you never know what's going to happen, but you could affect change. And that change really, everybody comes out of hiding every 4 years. And then they go back into hide. On November 4th, they'll go back into hibernation. And they'll be in hibernation for 4 years. Well, in those 4 years, a lot of things happen that affect a lot of people. And it's done on the local, state, and congressional side. So who do you really have to blame?
Yeah, that's it. They can't blame anybody but those folks. You got to, and like you said, those local elections are very important. Unfortunately, folks forget about that. We've had folks on different shows that we've got on Next Level that have run for things like soil and water and treasurer on the state level. And, of course, we've had the gentleman down in Florida that was running for governor. But, the presidential race is an important race, and I'm not knocking the governors of our different states, but we also need to pay attention to those local races as well. As a matter of fact, I've got to give a shout-out to a person that we've had on our show, on a number of our shows, actually. But that for all he did in terms of trying to run and win his office, Brother Prelon is now a member of the city council. So like I said, he did not make it as mayor. He did run for city council, but did not win. But then one of the people that did run and won at one point or another, they then are now going for, I think, a state job or something along those nature. So they just recently appointed him to be a member of the city council. So he was appointed almost 2 weeks ago, but I believe his first meeting was held like maybe last week or within the last several days and everything. But yes, he was appointed to fill the seat of Vernada Olsten, who is the person that was taking care of our Ward 3. So he was appointed to fill that seat, and so definitely we got to give Pierce some congratulations. You know that he is definitely friends of some of your musical community people like Ninth Wonder and others, but he is definitely comes out of that musical background, but now he can add to his resume city council member as well. So he is definitely on the city council, and I am glad to see that because I think that he will do a great job. He's always been very concerned about a number of issues, so it's great to see him lending his voice to what's going on also. So hopefully I'll reach out to him and we'll have him call in and talk about what his vision is and what he's got going on both with his musical film career and also what he sees going forward as he's taking care of this job in the city council. So definitely we must give him the kudos that he deserves for stepping into that office and everything. So it says that, matter of fact, it looks like September 4th. So that would have been 10 days ago was when he actually took the job. He was sworn in on September 4th. He was elected in a 4-2 vote on Monday. So, and then it looks like he took that position on that day of the 4th, it looks like. So definitely it's just great to see that he is taking that job and that he will do some great things. So I know that he pointed to poverty as one of the biggest challenges facing the city here in Durham. In his in an online interview he did, he said poverty is a policy choice. He said tying balance, crime, the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on Black, Indigenous, and communities of color, and a shortage of affordable housing, all to poverty. So definitely those are things that I know a lot of folks can relate to. And he also said that Durham has acknowledged the city government's historical role in zoning and development that has harmed communities of color and pushed for inclusiveness, such as multi-class, intergenerational involvement in city decisions. And he also said he favors alternatives to reducing gun violence beyond policing, such as more counselors, vocational training, and recreational opportunities for young people. So definitely looks like he has some good ideas and some folks that are definitely worth listening to as he gets involved in the political front now that he is a member of the city council. So definitely glad to see that that happened and that he is now a member of the city council. And like I said, it looks like he was sworn in on a Friday, and that would make sense because that would have been about 10 days ago. So, yes, it looks like he was sworn in on a Friday, and he actually got sworn in wearing a robe worn by West Africans and folks of that nature. So he definitely honored some of his ancestry as well, and he oftentimes does that in a lot of things that he does around the community. So great to see that he is still doing things like that, finding ways to honor his past as well as his heritage. So I see that he did that when he got put into the office on not this past Friday, but the Friday before that. So like I said, fresh into the office, look forward to seeing what kind of ideas he's going to come up with. But he's been on our show before, and I think we're going to have to reach out to him again. What do you think, Dean?
Yeah, we could definitely do that. Definitely.
We got two folks on the phone. I knew we had one, but we got two.
We got one that's been holding on for almost since we started. They've been real patient on here waiting for us.
That's my brother that's doing this stuff on politics. So I think we'll get to him, but then I think we're going to get to the 91912 too. But, yeah, bring up the 917 because I think that's Mr. DeLoach. And we're going to talk about this book, and then we'll bring up the other one shortly as well because it might even be a group conversation that goes on and everything. So, Eric, is that you on the other line at 917?
Yeah, 917-887-2479, yeah.
All right, I appreciate it. This is Erick DeLoach. Erick DeLoach, Dean, you'll be interested. He has written a book about that person whose name we don't like to speak about. So he has written a book about Trump. He calls him, tell us the title of the book. Like I said, I'm familiar with it, but you're going to share with us the title of the book. So please share with us one more time the title of that book so that Dean can hear about the title and learn more about the book and what's going on.
Yeah, well, the main title is Trump, the Colossal Poison. If you can't, I have other parts in it, but we just start Trump, the Colossal Poison, and then it goes on from there. Subtitles, the Trump Presidency, an American Problem, a presidential volcano full of disorientation and pure chaos, a true clear word from a U.S. Southern-born, educated black man for all Democrats, independents, and Republicans. But what will stick, and people kind of always, sticks with everybody, is Trump, the Colossal Poison.
Wow, definitely. And if you would tell Dean and the rest of our listeners here, what made you decide that you wanted to write this book about that person who's currently occupying 1600, and what some of the things that you've learned about that person currently occupying 1600, and just share with us some of the wisdom that you've learned, and then we'll delve into some of the things that we've talked about, but that we can continue going into. But I know our listeners would love to know as to why you decided to write the book and how you came about doing the book.
Yeah, the guy is such unique individual in politics, so just out there, outlandish type of gentleman that you're compelled to say something. I mean, it's like somebody has to say something. This guy is just kind of off unhinged type gentleman. So that was that, and then so I started it, and you know how when you start a book, oh, you may not finish the book. Okay, well then, you know, I'm a songwriter as well. So and I ran into Macy Gray, wrote a song for her with a producer, and the coronavirus hit. So when the coronavirus hit, that shut everything down. I'm in Athens, Georgia, and I'm like an hour away from Atlanta, and I went to Morehouse, you know, Atlanta inside out. But so the recording studios, most of them closed down. That guy the music producer didn't want to, you know, it's a coronavirus. The demo singers like, oh my, so it just shut the industry down. So what you're left, you know, I'm a creative person, so I just doubled down, just put my head to the ground and then finished the book. I think it says you want to know about some interesting parts of it.
Yeah, some interesting parts of the book. Talk about some of the things. I know that we've talked here in the past about some of the things that goes on with, like, even the religious right and things of that nature. So I know you've got a chapter about the religious right. So if you want to talk a little bit about that and some of, because I think you call the book maybe The Religious Right is the Religious Wrong or something like that. So if you want to go there and talk about your thoughts on the religious right, and then we'll explore a little bit about the economy and how you feel the economy is doing and how you're doing with the economy, and we'll just go from there.
Okay, well, starting off with is actually chapter 4, the religious right. Are they the religious wrong? And it's just obvious that this guy has no respect for Christianity. You know, I'm a Christian. I'm not a fanatic, but I'm a Christian, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at what's going on, and I'm like, come on, you can't put your cover around that guy and say that you're down with that. That's who represents you. When the guys had, you know, extramarital affair, you know, at least one, but probably several, and, you know, cusses in public like crazy, and then he lies, you know, maybe 100 times a day, I don't know, but I mean, it's pretty bad. So it's just, and then at the border, what he wants to do with the kids, you know, separate them from their parents, which is inhumane type behavior, and so So for these individuals, and I think lately Farwell or something got caught in a scandal that the Liberty College, I think that's what it was, his wife, pool boy, you know, so it kind of like they got exposed, and it's just, you can call yourself the religious right if you want to, but you're not going to be approved as the authentic religious right with God. You know, you can't fool God. So, and everybody else that's not a part of your group of affiliation, they're not going to consider you the religious right. You're just going to be, you know, I'm going to say potentially you're the religious wrong, or you're going religiously wrong. However you want to kind of semantics with the wording there. So that I go in depth talking about that. The economy, we didn't get a chance to talk about the economy, was on the show, but the economy, I did a chapter on that, and before the coronavirus, and basically this guy inherited a perfect economy from Obama and Biden, and he Republicans always talk about deficits. You know, we're concerned about the deficit, but they ran the deficit right through the roof. And then they took all the regulations away. So and then they put a lot of spending in the military, just kind of. And then they gave a tax cut, but that tax cut was permanent for those that were passive earners that are in the stock market, heavily in the stock market, and for corporations. Now, in the cases of just regular workers, you know, you we got a little tax cut, or whoever got a tax cut, or whatever the case may be. The problem with that is, if you notice when you go to the store, milk went up. All the products went up. So it's kind of like the little powers that be. I wouldn't call them big powers that be, but the little powers that be say, well, we're going to keep you in poverty, or we're going to keep you. We're going to take that extra that you have from you, and nothing ultimately changed. And then now you got the case of the coronavirus, and now there's layoffs, and I think we talked about it. Churches suffering, the music industry, the film industry, and small businesses, and particularly black-owned businesses and stuff like that were like crushed, especially small businesses, and some of them won't rebound. Some of them will not return unless you have resolve and you're going to continue onward. So his concept of the economy, even before the economy, he was destroying the economy before the economy. And then in Michigan, they had an excess of 700,000 jobs gone in terms of manufacturing, and a whole lot of losses. I mean, factory jobs not there. So it's kind of fairy tale, what you would call a real good economy, and that economy he inherited from Obama. It was not one that he created, and he's got the history when you talk about business of being bankrupt 4 times. So I mean, make it that what you make. I wouldn't hire anybody to run my business or run my country that's been bankrupt 4 times. I just wouldn't. I mean, let me just gotta say this. Somebody said, like in Atlantic City, okay, he had one casino. This is how unhinged the gentleman is. He had a casino on one side of the street. He came up with he thought was a bright idea. Oh, well, if I put another casino on the other, right across the way from the other side of the street, I'm gonna make double the money. No, what happened is one will make money and one won't make money, so you're competing against yourself. This is the logic and the thought process of what we're dealing with that's at 1600 right now.
Well, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of crazy thought processes of what he's going through, and he's got a lot of things that he's talking about and all of that. I know one of the things you mentioned was, and we didn't really delve into it when I had you conversating before and everything, but what is your take about the whole law and order concept? Because, of course, he's trying to put himself out there as a law and order president, and he's trying to put division between our police force and activists with the Black Lives Matter movement and things along those lines. So as you were doing your book and as you were researching, what did you find out about that in terms of how he is trying to position himself as the law and order candidate?
Well, that's just a code word for name against the protesters, and I mean, he probably didn't even know this, but Nixon, that it was to neutralize, people such as the Black Panthers, and the black community and the whites that were marching out there. That's what Nixon was doing. It was just a cold. I'm sure Trump doesn't understand that, but the whole law and order thing is a divisive tool to kind of just scare people to think, okay, well, they are the problems. They're the reason why you're not successful. Oh, they're going to come to your neighborhoods. And we do know there's reports of their people on their side looting and burning up things and acting as if, honest Black Lives members are people, black people that's not Black Lives members, but that supported, or white people that support that movement. That he didn't even want them to peacefully protest, and he has very derogatory names in describing them, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense and all of that. So that's definitely one of the things that he's been talking about. Could you also talk a little bit about your thoughts as to his relationships either with Russia or with some of the other world powers? Because I know when you did your book, you definitely talked a little bit about his relationship with some of those world powers. So I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are in that regards.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have the new book that came out, I think, this past week, Disloyal, and that's his person, Michael Cohen, and Jewish attorney that that was kind of his gopher, sidekick type gentleman. That you know, since he took one for the team, Trump, you know, left him out to dry, and now the guy's trying to retaliate against him, and basically he said that Trump had a deal going on with Putin and Russia, and pretty much you go back to that racial Matthew, whatever name, show that he never intended to win. It was just it was the world's biggest infomercial in order to impress Russia and to actually set up real estate over there. And what the plan was to give Putin a free apartment that was a huge apartment, and then all the oligarchy people that he's connected with, that they would pay into it, and it was going to be a big financial success. And so I think he still wants to do that. So even though it's been reported that this is really sad, is that United States government had they hired somebody as a contractor, but they didn't really do the research to find out that the guy was a drug dealer in Afghanistan. So he had a kind of shady past, but they had this guy as a contractor. Russia knew about, I guess, did their research, pulled this guy to the side, laundered money through him, and got it to the terrorists, and the terrorist responsibility was to this is in the paper. This is not me making this up. This is in I think New York Times or Washington. It's in the book as well. That to give those terrorist groups money to kill American military and allies of the military. And so he's sitting idly by and not saying anything because his interest is once he comes out or if he gets back in to do business with Russia. So he's putting his personal interest over the interests of us, the United States.
Well, yeah, that's definitely real interesting in everything what you're saying there and everything. And what have been your thoughts about how he's thinking about like even the mail and the mail-in voting? I know that my business partner on this venture, Dean, is a member of the NAACP, and Dean, if you want to chime in, you can. But that's definitely an issue that I know that they're concerned about is the concept of mail-in voting and making sure that mail-in voting is allowed and that we get that going on. So what are some of your thoughts about how he's handling mail-in voting?
Well, that's actually, I guess the what's his name, the Postmaster General, was it Louis DeJoy, kind of a mastermind type individual that was a donor to the Republican Party and also donor to Trump. Now his situation is that he may be coming up on charges because I think in his companies he forced employees to contribute to the Republican Party, and then he reimbursed them for that contribution, and that's against the law. But this is the type of person you're dealing with. But anyway, he got it. He was able to get himself in the position, and there was a minority. It was a black guy that was in there before who was trying to do things right. He was removed. The Joy was brought in. The Joy cut overtime. That's when he said that he didn't cut overtime, but there's documentation that I think that's been leaked out that he actually was responsible for cutting overtime. And they said with overtime that guaranteed that packages would come on time if people had that. He also removed the machines. The sorting machines that would sort the ballots. He moved those out. He said he didn't do that, but he was. All indications are that he did do that. And then the mailbox, the actual drop boxes, New York, certain areas, he moved those. So he's been involved in a lot of questionable activity. And when he went to the Senate was favorable with him in the hearings there. Then he went to the Congress, and what was it? They asked him about, are you going to replace the sorting machines? He said, no, I'm not going to replace the sorting machines. So he's telling you it's not going to be fair there. Then, you would think if you're over the Postal Service, you would know about its products. So there was a representative from professor lady that was from California and asked him about, the pricing of different products, and he couldn't answer, like one or two items he had no clue. I don't know what it costs, but yet still you're supposed to be the top person in charge, but then you don't know your business. So basically, we have to glean from this whole situation. I recommend Republicans, they're going to get hurt too. I mean, the best thing that we can glean from the situation, try to get an absentee ballot, a mail ballot, vote early. If you go in early, vote, and hope, go. I went back because I was very concerned. I'm in Georgia, so it's really crazy over here. So I went back to make sure that my ballot was I'm registered. My mother made sure I was registered, and we're absentee ballots. But now, when you go to Georgia, you got the situation where the governor Kemp actually said there's no requirements for masks. For people can come in there without masks. And I think it's been stated, we didn't go to this before, but in white neighborhoods, they have the machines that they need, but they removed a lot of machines. This is when he was running, because he was the Secretary of State. Jimmy Carter protested that and said that was wrong. How can you be Secretary of State and you run for governor and not recuse yourself? He really went into him on that, but of course he didn't. And a lot of people say he stole that election. Possibly he did steal that election, but that situation of no mask and also the removal of a lot of voting locations for blacks really. Just you have to say, is there an elephant in the room there? I'm put it that way. Is there an elephant in the room? Are things on the up and up? You really have to question that. Are you trying to hurt people catching the virus? Are you not trying to hurt people? Why would you go and sue the mayor of Atlanta, and then when the Trump administration come down on you and say, well, you need to have mandatory masks, then you decide, I'm going to drop that suit against the mayor of Atlanta. Then you did a little tricky. He did a little tricky thing with his order, and so so I'm only going to require that the mayors and the principalities or whatever in the areas they can mandate masks on public property. But actually, in the businesses still have the authority to say, well, you don't wear a mask if you work on my business site, or you do wear masks. So it's a lot of painting the picture, but are you really getting the correct picture? A lot of stuff going on that's very questionable from state levels to Trump, who's in cahoots apparently. It looks with the joy, and so therefore vote early, get your absentee ballots or registration for absentee ballots. Make sure you're registered. Try to get your absentee ballots. Check back for your absentee ballots after you vote, and just vote early. If you don't, your vote is not going to count. That they just announce it to the world. You could just wear a T-shirt saying your votes will not count if you don't get them in a certain time, and I don't care. That would be a great shirt for Trump and DeJoy to wear.
Wow. Yeah, you got a point there. They probably need to just go ahead and admit what they're going through and what they're doing and all of that. Now, I know one of the things that you've talked about in the past, and I think you touched on it in the book, is what's going on with our environment. So what has been some of the things you've learned about the Trump campaign as well as his take on environmental issues? I know that you had told me earlier in one of our pre-calls that you are actually a farmer yourself. So what have you learned about how he is treating the farmers and the environment?
Well, the state of Georgia is very big with farming. So they're going to take care, as they would say, their own. they're going to take care of them. I mean, with USDA, we have cows and stuff, and we were able to get money for not selling the cows, and it was the rationale was that you were unable to sell the cows due to come to the market because of coronavirus. There's other funding going on that they're doing, that they're taking care of the farmers in Georgia. And majority of farmers in Georgia are, who they are. So, but I guess in other states, I don't know specifically, but I'm sure that they are still catching some hard times, especially the ones that have to ship product over to Japan and things of that nature. So, but under the door, they're going to take care of the farm. You may not see it, but they'll take care of it. So now when we go to wildfires, I used to live in San Francisco. I have a friend that lives in San Francisco and a friend that's from L.A. We went to school and stuff like that, and he's in Nevada, but the one is from Louisiana, but he's in San Francisco. He sent me a picture that showed, but it looked like it was daytime, but I guess it flared up and made it look like daytime. But California, Oregon, North Dakota, Washington State, it may be more states now that they found out a lot of in California that it was on federal land that actually where fires were going on. So it's a federal manner, as I said on your show, Mr. Lee, that it his viewpoint, I guess, if he has a philosophy, but his viewpoint is that the hands-off federal government only come in at the last moment. I think the majority of people, open-minded people, would be like, if we need help, come and help us out. We pay federal taxes, so when things happen, come over and help us out. It doesn't matter if we're a Democratic state or whatever. And then it said that if you go outside in California, the governor said in certain areas, it's equivalent to smoking 20 cigarettes. And I didn't mention this, but there was a guy, I think, if I recall, on TV yesterday or something, there was a white gentleman that was maybe like 55, was so discombobulated or just out of it that he asked the lady, "I'm looking for my wife and I'm trying to look for my kids." She said, "I am your wife." So, it's devastating. And then you may have somewhere around 20. I think it was at one count. I read I'm writing 10 or so, but it's maybe 20. It could be 30, 40 people that have died. And I think our president could have responded early. And I think you have to be a man and say, look, I want to campaign, but I need to take care of this catastrophe first, and campaign in a second. And actually, people will respect you more if they see you taking care of business than being selfish and going around campaigning and acting as if nothing's happening and telling people just rape leads and that's the solution to it. That guy is not an environmentalist or whatever. And the other thing, when he gutted the EPA. He discharged and got and forced them, created an environment that a lot of scientists left when he first came in. So it's a skeleton crew with somebody who's not really concerned and not thinking about, only thinking about business. He's not thinking about your health or anything like that.
Yeah, you got a point there. He's definitely not thinking about the big picture and things along those lines. So he's just definitely seems to be just primarily in it for himself and all of that. So I know a number of folks are surprised that you decided to write the book. So all of that. But when you wrote the book, what are some of the things that most surprised you? So like I said, I know at times we go in when we're thinking about writing a book and we may already have preconceived notions about what we expect to find. But was there something or some things that you found out that you were not expecting to find out that actually surprised you? So what are some of the things that you learned as you were doing the book and researching the book and researching some of President Trump's tweets and social media messages and just the news articles about him? So what were some of the things that you found out that surprised you, that you were not expecting to find out?
Well, definitely the chapter on black women about white supremacy, extremist black women, regular black women. I think it was a case in Kansas or something. I think the lady was, I guess, became social, I'll put it that way, with the gentleman, came to his house, and she found out that he had AIDS or something, or he admitted that he had AIDS, and she told, I think, according to him, now this is his account of it, after he killed the woman, that she found out that I had AIDS, and therefore, she had to be killed. So he killed the woman, and I don't know if he decomposed her or something, but he threw her in the garbage in his garage. That happened. And then I'm sure you might have heard that situation. I think it might have been Seattle. It was on the black women's side of things. It was a very lucky situation. But what happened? It was two girls. You probably heard of this story. One of them had like a Muslim, Christian, but a Muslim hat, thing that they wear. It was a ex-convict, white supremacist guy that got on the train, and then three white guys came to her defense, and to the two teenage girls' defense, and he ended up killing two of the white gentlemen and injured the other ones. And thank God, that's very sad, but thank God that something did positive happen, that those two young ladies were not harmed. But he was intending to do harm to them, and I didn't know that the rhetoric had gotten and the insults and all of this type of stuff has gotten so bad by Trump that it kind of, I would say, loose-minded people or simple-minded people. That's how I would describe them. Or based-minded people would actually wouldn't be strong enough to resist Trump's words and actually commit crimes of that nature. That was an article, and I kind of, and I credit the article from a black lady and talked about that. That caught me off guard. I didn't know nothing. We know about Breonna Taylor, but that happened before Breonna Taylor, but during the Trump administration. His fascination, with black entertainers. Thomas Jefferson was fascinated with slaves that could perform. Reagan was fascinated with Michael Jackson. You got it's kind of a soft chapter. And he cares about celebrities, and then Trump's fascination with Michael Jackson and Kanye West, and they put these guys in such high regard as almost as kings, but they would undercut their own Republican politicians, and everybody else is nothing. But these people are great people. It's like an oxymoron. If you're going to be racist, stay racist. Be racist to everybody. But I guess they have a soft spot for black entertainers. That was kind of interesting. That was kind of peculiar, bizarre, if you will. So, and then the other thing, I think we all are struck by the fact that we're very much struck by the fact that a second coming of demonstrations took place. Nobody saw that coming, and then it happened worldwide, and we were so impacted, black people in this country and whites that came together and all different cultures that came together. We became heroes, and other countries got up, talking about us and respecting us and addressed their own racial injustices in their countries, but that was due to our, the young people's standing up and the Black Lives Matter movement and the adjacent movements that became a part of that. So we really should be proud of what has happened there. And believe it or not, there's an article in there that there was legislation that in certain places of California and different places and stuff, they banned chokeholds. This was due to the fact that people got up in France. They actually, there was a black guy that was killed. They banned some type of chokeholds over there in France. That was because of what we did in America. So there's a lot of legislation that's attributed and that was made because of that. And like I was telling you before, the situation that's very promising. One is the George Floyd case, and then the case that's in Rochester, New York, of the mental guy situation where the police chief had to quit. That's going to go in the favor of the people, and that's going to set a precedent, and that's going to affect everything else. So the actual movement, uprising movement coming again is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I had actually finished the book earlier, but because that happened, I let it continue onward and talked about that and a few more issues. So those were the things that were kind of very surprising and noteworthy.
Yep, a lot of that is very noteworthy and all of that, and a lot of folks are observing what you've been finding out and just the different things that you've been learning as you've been following the campaign. And definitely I think folks have been surprised by a number of things. So what were your thoughts about how Trump has been treating the athletes and even some of the Black Lives Matter protests that have been going on, whether that's with like LeBron James and the NBA players, or whether that's Naomi Osaka and what she's been doing with the mask and things along those lines. So as you've done research for the book, tell us a little bit about what you've learned about his views about the sports protests. And also, is this the first time that you've done, is this like the first edition of the book, and will there be multiple editions of the book? Because I think you had told me that you're looking at possibly writing other editions and adding things based on what happens on the election and based on what he continuously says. And are most of the things in the book, are they mostly your reflections, or are they a combination of your reflections and articles from national newspapers, or are they more like and do you also incorporate some of his own tweets and Facebook messages and some of the things that he's done on social media?
It's a combination. And shout out to the New York Times. I mean, those guys are phenomenal writers. Oh my God! But there may be 100 articles in here or more that because I wanted to back up. I just didn't want to just say something in the dark. Now I could speak from the gut on chapter 4 with the religious right, because I'm a Christian. So I needed no references. And by the way, my editor, who's Indian, that's his favorite chapter. He loves that chapter. He said, "Oh my God, I love that." He just went bananas. But I documented left and right and left in terms of this book. There will be an extended version. This goes right up, and I cut it off at the time that Kamala Harris got nominated, because she's going to be the next president after Biden. Biden's going to win. Okay, but anyway, so now it's continuing on. I'm doing a diary every day of incidents that's taking place every single day up until the election. And then that's going to be a chapter. I have to, because I've been hearing too much about white supremacy. I want to make the link between white supremacy and the police. And I might throw the military in there. There's some links going on there. I hate this. We have to deal with the issue of the crabs in the bucket with black people. We're just going to have to deal with that so that we can air that and get it together, because we're powerful people, and we're going to have to do the right things. And the talented Tiff, we're going to deal with some issue. That's a chapter. And then we will have a chapter talking about who won, why did they win, and then the last chapter will go into talking about it would talk about the future, talking about the United States, talking about the black community, what we need to expect and what we need to get in the Biden's administration, and for the world, can we? It'll be quite some time, but will we be able to get our reputation back? It's just an explosive book. The book is on fire, and people are buying it. recommend definitely buy it. And I think it will be a textbook once I'm finished with it. I'll have it at Morehouse. I might be able to get it at the University of Georgia, just all over the nation. The second version, but this one is like a limited edition. You want to get this because this is a historic piece in the Black lexicon. So our American lexicon, white or whatever, everybody should get this book. It's for Democrats, Republicans, Independents. It documents a lot. Now reparations, I got to talk about that. That was a situation that's coming up. We're going to get reparations. It's just there. I said I flipped the script and said to the white community, what if you were enslaved for 400 years and black people were in control? And like I told you before, and your mother's forefathers and stuff were raped and killed, and all of this happened to you. You got the Jim Crow. You had a dirt road, but you paid taxes, and the black neighborhoods. You beautified that. You beautified the educational institution, but still there was lynching going on. I think you would want to have reparations for that, and even for West Indian people, they came in. They had a choice to come in, but they still have a right to have clinics in all our black neighborhoods, and this is for the poor whites as well. In our neighborhoods to have good schooling, to have jobs centers that would allow you to get good job opportunities, scholarships, internships. Everybody should have a shot at success. Now, if you feel not to take it, that's your fault, But everybody should have a shot at it. We all pay taxes, I talk about the immigration. That'll be interesting. I'm just going to leave that out. So just you check that out. That's going to be pretty deep in there. Where I went in there, and I went into to insurance. About health insurance. I went into that. In the economy chapter, I talked about, that we need some black businesses and minority businesses and creating those opportunities and inequities and unfairness there that you could be a master's. I got a master's in accounting, but some people are intimidated, and you may not get a job because you're quote unquote overqualified, as well as being underqualified. I was a state auditor. They told me white guys came in there with no college degree before that, and they were auditors. I had to come in there with a master's degree. So I mean, just all kind of inequities. Guy came in there not with even a college degree. I mean, with a accounting degree, with some other degree, and this guy could not do the job, and somebody was always doing his work. So, I mean, there's not fairness going on there. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of issues that really need to be addressed in the next in the generations to come up, and a lot of things have to be, the fight between the black elite and the masses of black people. I have to kind of somewhat agree with the boys, and then I have to somewhat disagree with the boys. You can't leave everybody behind. Everybody should have an opportunity, no matter what. 10% of black people, and we only 13-14%. That's all that's supposed to be the winners in American society. I think not. I think that's unfair. I think that's wrong. Everybody in all races deserve a shot. And we need programs and things that are set aside. I mean, I didn't put this in the book, but there need to be the population. We need to destroy the projects. We should destroy the projects and give people quality housing. Yeah, you pay. Yeah, maybe government assistance, but at some point that people can have dignity and move and step up to middle class and to the next classes. There's a lot of inequality. And King was actually killed. It was fine when you were king and you were talking about, okay, I want to sit at the table. But when you said you wanted to do a boycott, when you said that you wanted to get that management and top management job, or you wanted to own the company of all races that they're poor, that's when Martin Luther King was killed.
Well,
As long as he was talking about, huh?
No, go ahead.
No, I'm finished.
No, but and you were talking about education. Education is very important. I know we oftentimes talk on this show about education. So when you were doing your research, what did you find out about how the current administration is doing in the sense of trying to reach out to education and to have some education platforms? So what did you learn about the education situation that we're in currently as well?
So the education system is when you're talking about a certain group, and a certain group, at least of a certain group, I'll put it that way, they love to privatize. They want to make money. They think everything is about making money. This is what they think. And they don't want to build up the public schools. I went through public schools and there's no problem. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm a dumb guy. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that you take those institutions, because the old problem was it was unequal and separate. Now you integrate it, okay, and then now, okay, well, we don't want to go to school with you, so now we're gonna get our private education system, and we want to take your taxpayers' money, even though you're poor, whatever the case may be, or you're black, or whatever the case may be, and we want you to take your money and put it in our school system, and it's the talentive concept. We're only going to take your brightest people and put them over there, and everybody else, go out and say, hey, that's really what's happening. And the lady that's up there has no concept whatsoever about how to conduct federalized education. And the issue outside of just education is just health and safety for our teachers and students and during the time of the coronavirus, and not really setting up safety guidelines even at the college level. And not setting up a system that not preparing properly, and then that's why you have these outbreaks all over the place. So it's just a lack of preparation. I would say lack of preparation and understanding is what you have in terms of the education system, in terms of safety and in terms of education, and therefore many are suffering, at the hands of a few people who are not qualified to lead the many.
Yeah, definitely. And as you were doing the book, what did you find that in your mind should be the strong assets of a leader? So, like I said, it definitely comes up that you said that Trump is, as you called it, colossal poison and everything. So, in your mind, and you've talked about how he's not the greatest business leader, and I agree with you on that, but what should be some of the strong assets that folks should be looking at for a national leader in your mind, as you've written this book and you have looked at what are definitely some bad qualities of a leader? But I was wondering as you look at candidates, whether that's looking at the presidential race that we're in the middle of now, or even if you're looking at candidates that are running for like governor of Georgia or running for offices in maybe even city offices or county offices, what are some of the things that you look for in your leaders?
Well, I mean, you're not going to get it. Everybody's not going to like you. You're not going to get all the vote, not even all the vote in your party. Okay, but when you become president or you become CEO or whatever, well, let's say president of a nation, you have to represent, as Biden would say, everybody, even those that didn't vote for you. You can't say, well, California, you burned because you, and he actually said that, by the way, and he had somebody that was the chief of staff. I have that in I think in this book, and then it'll be in the next book, but definitely, maybe for sure in the next book, probably it might be in this book, that the chief of staff of Homeland Security resigned because he said, he said this some time back, I'm not going to do anything for California and the wildfires because they didn't vote for me. I mean, you have to, what I'm saying is that even if somebody didn't vote for you, you have to be a president of everybody. And you have to have empathy, and you have to, understand. Even if you were Mr. Rich Two Shoes or whatever, you have to understand the man that's not Rich Two Shoes, and you have to be outreaching and find out what are the problems. People can be brought out of poverty to degree if they meet you halfway, but you got to meet them halfway. So you have to be an innovative, a visionary in order to solve the complicated problems that's going on. For example, with the police force throwing more money, we've been doing that for years at the police force. We need to reinvent and redirect money and reinvent that police force. I mean, I kind of outlined with the Rochester thing what was going. I mean, you got the chief that he retires at 40 years old, but he keeps his pension. Okay, why? Let's get rid of that qualified immunity, and let's be able to sue you, take your retirement from you, and throw you in jail if you're doing wrong, and that would stop. I told you before, like in terms of the cameras. Okay, if you're caught and an incident happened and you don't have your camera on for 1 month or longer, you won't lose your job, but you'll be suspended without pay. If you enforce that, everybody's going to have their camera on because they want money. We got it in the police union. I do say this in the first book here. I say that they work for the police office, but the police office works for us. We pay the union doesn't pay the police salary. It's the general public that pays the police salary. So if I'm paying your salary, you work for me. You don't work for a police union. And if I'm let's say a senator of a state, if you go and you grab a man in the back of his shirt and you shoot him 7 times, you're going to be arrested. There's not going to be, and it's filmed. And in that case, too, even if the man did have a knife in his car, that doesn't matter. You have a right to have a knife in your car. The fact that you grabbed the man's shirt indicated that you were not scared of him. You shot him 7 times. That is savage behavior. That's not you choke. This is not a golf game you choke. This is a human life. You intentionally went to kill a man. You thought you wouldn't film, and you think that you're going to get away with it. So I'm just saying that the police have to be held more accountable. They have to be able to be sued. And if these people really had brains that were in the police department, in the government, I would, if I'm the mayor or if I'm the governor, I would want to allow you to get sued. Because, hey, maybe I got to pay $10 million. I guess what you pay $10 million. The police union, you want to be big shot? I want you to pay $4 million of that. I want to take away that police union, that retirement and pension fund for that police. He gonna pay another $1 million, and then I pay $5 million instead of me paying $10 million because you acted out of character and didn't do what you're supposed to do. And you need to be thrown in jail. If you do the crime, you must do the time. So, you know what I'm saying? And then when you're talking about health issues, if the police, if you're not trained for that, then maybe the police need to take the back step and let's bring in the health people to come in. And if it's a health issue situation, and let's try to solve it in a more peaceful way. Not that you put a spit bag on a man's face and you hold his chest down for 2 and some odd minutes, and then the man dies because you were not smart enough or not trained enough or really not bright enough to know how to treat somebody as a human being. We want to throw more money at these people? No, we do not want. We want community social workers and psychiatrists and a reimagining how proper social policing and welfare of our communities, both whites, blacks, whatever you make done correctly. And a lot of the police, the guy couldn't even, I had to do it, that somebody did something to my car, the lady writes something, I'm like, you can't even write. I had to go to the police station and get somebody else to write it, and then try to come. I said, you can't write. That's not what I said, to get the correct police report. So, I mean, what John Doe and Harry might serve the community better to go to the factory than trying to be a police officer if you don't have the altitude, if you don't have the empathy, and you're just not capable. Maybe you need to be in a factory line. You have no business running around with a gun with unlimited power. And And another thing, in terms of in terms of policing in black communities and Latin communities and communities of minorities, I think that it should be set that if you have two police coming to a community, if it's a black community, one needs to be black, one needs to be white. If you go into a Latin community, it needs to be one white, one Latin, or one black and one Latin, because I would think 90%, 80%, that black police is going to say, yo, hey, put your gun down. And you know what I mean? And if you shoot the man, I'm going to testify against you. I saw you killed him just because he was black. So I think we need, and we need to, I don't know if the prosecutors are elected. We need more black prosecutors and minority prosecutors, and at the state level as well as the local level. And the police force needs to represent the community. If 40% of that community is black, 40% of that police force need to be black. And some of them need to come from that community so they can be held accountable properly. It's no more 100% white police officers in a black neighborhood. That is absolutely outrageous. And so those are some of the things I'm thinking.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm Dean, I think we need to probably run a spot and everything, but I'm sure you want to jump in because you actually work in law enforcement, and you heard some of what he's been talking about in terms of some of the things he's learned about both the Trump campaign as well as Mr. DeLoach's own thoughts and things of that nature. But I'd love for you to interject some of your thoughts as you've been hearing Mr. DeLoach share some of his, but I'd love to hear from you, Dean, and I'll just add this. We had a recent incident here in my apartment complex, and he is right. The police officers came in like about 10 deep or something like that. It might have even been 15 deep, and it was for somebody that had actually, I think my buddy Zach had told me it was somebody that had fainted in the back or something like that. So it was a medical situation. I don't even think it was necessarily what most people would consider a police crime matter, but it was, they rolled in about 10 deep. I'd actually come home and taken a nap, and when I woke up, I'm sitting there going like, why are there like 10 police officers outside of my house and everything? And I know that a number of other folks have done that, because sometimes if you're in a neighborhood that is predominantly black or predominantly Latin or predominantly whatever, they do roll in stronger than they might in some of the white neighborhoods. But I would just love to hear your thoughts on what you've been hearing from Eric and my story about that incident. But I would love to hear you interject and then maybe run a spot or two, and then we'll come back and close out with more conversation with Eric. But I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I mean, to be honest, I as a law enforcement professional, I'd rather have more eyes that with everything that's going on, and everybody's sensitive and everybody's awareness is super heightened. One word taken the wrong way can lead to a whole bunch of extra. So if I had to respond and 12 people came with me, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with that, because as soon as I say, because people do have a tendency to sometimes, and it doesn't matter what race it is, when there's a critical incident, there's always one or two people that want to get right in the way. So now, if I'm trying to do something and you're standing there, well, what's going on? I need you to step back. And that statement, just like I said it right there, would turn into something totally different. Oh, he was rude, he was disrespectful to me, blah, blah, blah. And some people have a tendency to talk back. It's not just black folks. It's white folks. It's Hispanic folks. And it's like, you know what, can you move? If you don't move, then we got another place we can take you. It's called a jail. You're in the way right now. We're trying to handle the situation. And we need for you to step back, not only for your safety, but for mine and everybody else that's around right now. We need you to go over there. And if you're talking to a sensitive person, the conversation can go left quick, because if the person speaking doesn't have patience and the person listening is sensitive, you might as well take a whole can of gasoline and have them light a whole bunch of matches and see if that whole thing doesn't blow up. And sometimes you look at it and you say, well, why so many? And then other times you look and it's not enough, because in certain neighborhoods, they just gonna show up. Hey man, you know what? You going? Oh hell no, I don't want to go over there. Although every time I go there, we got to deal with the angry folks now, because they're mad that we're even here. Man's grandma is right there having a diabetic episode But then when they show up, oh, what y'all come over here for? Well, we can't say your grandma. Like if at some point, everybody needs to take a step back and use logic. To hell with emotion. And that's the biggest problem on both sides. You got those who should be able to handle tense situations no matter how critical, loud, belligerent a person becomes. You know what? I'm going to just stay right here. Sir, I need you to. The longer you stay here, the less likely the chance that we can offer your loved ones some help. So tell you what, when I need you, I'll call for you. Right. But if I go there with them, there's two fools making noise, and this person is still over here needing help. But now that's been detoured because everybody's in their feelings. And once people learn how to get out of their feelings, there are those, and I've said it before, there are those who shouldn't have been allowed to complete their application that wear the uniform. And it's some of us, too. And you look at them and you say, wow. So you took this job knowing that there are going to be situations where people are going to be cussing you, slam out. People are going to be yelling at you. Some people don't even like you. They won't even say nothing but the looks and the sucking of the teeth and all of that stuff. Man, you got to ignore everything and do your job. If I can save this person right here, if I respond to this domestic abuse, first of all, I need to know who's the threat, but I don't have that much time to figure this out. So let me grab the biggest looking threat. I'm going to detain you right now, sir. Hold tight. But if I see him bleeding, then, ma'am, you know what? I'm going to have to detain you because something ain't right here. And we're going to have to figure this out before I leave. Either I'm going to leave and one's going to go somewhere else and somebody's going to stay here, or I'm going to leave and one person is going to jail, or both of you can come on down to the jail. I'm stuck anyway because I just responded to this call. I'm going to have to do the paperwork, so I might as well have y'all keep me company while I'm down there filling it out. But it depends on how you look at that situation. Like I said, some people will go in and it's like, I'm here to restore order. Sit down, shut up, da-da. And you just made a tense situation worse. Thank you for bringing the kerosene because this just blew up. And when it comes to maturity as well, 18 might be a little too young to have an individual who you've given all this authority to and a weapon. Right. And as far as the quote unquote psychological evals, they don't they can't tell whether an individual is fit for the job or not. Technically, these jobs should come with you have that year probationary period, but it should come with a secondary stipulation because within that first 6 months, you're going to come into a tense situation. If you fail how you respond in that tense situation, you should have signed that paper that said no ifs, ands, or buts. You're gone. Good luck. Go do something else because this is not it. So, it takes work, but it takes more work for those who actually raised their hand, took that oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and the laws of whatever respective state they're working in. And then they finish, every oath ends with, so help me God. And I think a lot of times they forget that they need their help because there's going to be some days. I got 21 years in, man. There's been some days where I say, you know what, if I could set it off, boy, I would have done it. But then I think real quick and common sense kicks in like, man, if you set it off, look at all of the extra that you have to deal with, starting with the internal affairs investigation, the write-ups, and all of this other stuff. You know what? I don't feel like dealing with all that. So let me just take a little bit longer, let them finish cussing, and then when they're done, then my response is still at this level. Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way, but now this is what I need from you. Oh, I ain't giving you nothing. Okay, well then it's time for me to go somewhere else because I can't force a person to do something, but I can stop them from doing something if you understand what I'm saying. And sometimes it just takes a little longer. And even when we should train new staff and we have those what would you do situations, And I remember being asked a question. They said, "Well, guys cussing you out, what would you do?" I said, "I'd probably smile at them." He was like, "Smile?" I said, "Yeah, you want to know why? Because first of all, they're going to think I'm crazy. I would just smile for no reason at all. I just got cussed out and smile." They're like, "What are you smiling for?" Okay, now we can have a conversation because I'm not going to raise my voice any higher than what it is right now. In fact, I didn't hear half of what you said because it's like if you put your hand on a speaker and it distorts the noise. So when you yell, what I hear is noise. So I need you to repeat that statement, but I need you to repeat it at the level that I'm talking to you right now. So maybe I'll be able to help you with the situation. You didn't hear what I said at first? No, you were yelling. I told you I have a disability. I can't hear that well when things are at an elevated level. Is it a lie? It sure is, but at the same time, they're like, "Dang, I didn't mean to holler at the deaf dude. Let me bring it down a little bit." It's all a chess game. It's all mental. And if you're not swift enough to go there to diffuse the situation as best you can, because I don't want to write the report for using any kind of force other than verbal. Once I put my hands on you, that's 3 more reports I got to write. And I'm the son of an English teacher, and I think I write very well, but sometimes I get lazy. I don't want to do all of that. So I'd rather spend just a little more time to calm you down, and then we can have a conversation. And by the time I leave, you still might not like me, but you'll say, "Man, he wasn't that bad." It's a win. It's a win-win.
Good point. If you can't drop those spots, but before you drop those spots, and then I want to come back and talk about Erick's thoughts on Trump as a business leader, because we had that in one of our earlier conversations. So I'd love for him to elaborate on that. But I want to hear what you think about that person occupying 1600. I know we've talked about it on the show, but Erick is our first time joining us here on the conversation, so I want him to hear it from your mouth. So I don't want to take and put your words and put them in my mouth, so I want him to hear it directly from you. And by the way, the interview that he did earlier today, it'll be of course, on our Next Level Podcast Network, as well as this one. We are the first interviews of this national book. So, like you hear, Erick is making this book go national, but we are doing the first ever interview. So he's already told me that in the next editions, he will be acknowledging Next Level. He'll be acknowledging me as the interviewer, but he'll also give both you, Dean, and Kim from IBM some credit as well. So he's already promised me that our names will be on the back of the book, if not on the forward of the book. Nice. So we will be mentioned for doing the first-time interview, and hopefully after a while, you know, as the election goes on and as more people are talking about folks that have written books about that president and everything, he'll be hopefully getting on CBS, ABC. To come back to your religious thoughts, I'm already claiming that for you, Erick. So, you know, they say that the first step is to claim it. So I'm already claiming it for you that you're going to get these interviews from some of these other franchises as well. But we are glad to be the first, meaning both here on Blog Talk Radio as well as IBM TV. So we are glad to be your first interviews, and I'm glad to be the first person to do the interview. So once you get that interview from the ABC guys and everything, you just make sure to give me and Dean some credit for asking some tough and good questions to you and everything. So, but I'm going to let Dean tell you his thoughts, and then we can come back and get that spot that I want Dean to run, and then I want to get your thoughts on finances and his business acumen. But Dean, take it away, your thoughts before we hit that ad.
You know what? I guess I would compare him to a gallon of milk that's been sitting in your refrigerator for about 9 months. And you know what happens with milk after it's been there too long? It kind of spoils. And it seems like everything that he has done has spoiled because, I don't know, point blank, I just don't care for that guy. And that's why, you know, when you don't care for a person and you don't care for him enough not to say his name, you know what I mean? Like, you're the one at 1600, you lucked up because of the Electoral College. And they put you in a position where now you are the face of our country. And we could have been better off digging up an old comedian that will put on some blackface and tell some offbeat jokes that will probably do a better job than you standing there contradicting your own lies, and then like, okay, we'll use the coronavirus as an example. You downplayed it to the point where a lot of people believed you. A lot of people thought that, oh, you know what? Yeah, people are just scared for no reason. And now almost 250,000 people have died because of this pandemic. And then you still say it ain't that bad. But then again, when you're the 1%, when would you ever give a damn about the other 99? So, you know, I just don't really care for that guy, man. I don't.
I understand. If you drop that spot on, then I'm going to bring Eric back on with more conversations about his business acumen. But if you want to drop a spot or two, because we've been talking for about an hour and a half, and we got about another 20, 25 minutes. But if you'll drop a spot on, and then we'll have Eric come back and talk about him as a business person, if that's what we want to call him, even though I don't think he's got any business acumen. But I'd love to hear Eric's take on that. So drop that spot, and then we'll come back with Eric talking about his business or lack thereof.
All right, we're going to take a quick pause for the calls, ladies and gentlemen. That's Straight Talk with Dean and Mark on Blog Talk Radio.
The old Renaissance is the new Renaissance, standing on tradition while embracing the spirit of distinction. This is the Harlem Brewing Company. Uniquely crafted beer brewed to deliver a taste, a sound, and a feeling that can only be described in one way, Harlem style. So come and take a trip on the A train with our Harlem Sugar Hill Golden Ale and our Harlem Renaissance Wit Beer, the neighborhood original.
Are you enjoying the smoothest conversation in podcasting? Straight Talk with Dean and Mark. Hi, this is DJ Smooth Jazz, syndicated radio host and co-owner of Portfolio Group LLC, your smooth jazz lifestyle and entertainment group with offices in Durham, North Carolina. Portfolio Group LLC specializes in promoting the lifestyle of smooth jazz listeners with the promotion of smooth jazz events and the distribution of African American owned wines. For more information, portfoliogroupllc.com, or you can swing by my secondary site, djsmoothjazz.com. Now back to Straight Talk with Dean and Mark.
All right, we're back on the conversation. So, Eric, as I was asking you, and I know we talked about it earlier, but I'd love to hear your assessment as well as him as a business owner, because you actually have some background in business yourself. Because, like I said, you talked about some of the things you've been involved in, and you've actually worked as a auditor over there in Georgia, and you've also definitely been involved in other businesses, because I know for a fact that even running a farm, that's a business and everything. So, and of course, you worked with Charles Schwab and some business folks, and of course, you're now back in Georgia after having lived in New York City. So, I don't know, you might have even run across that man in passing in an elevator or something like that. But what is your assessment of him as a quote-unquote business leader?
Yeah, well, I've been to Trump Towers. Let me just say this real quick and then jump right into that if you don't mind. I mean, I think it's important. I agree with both of you. And what I heard from him was the most intelligent police I have ever heard in my life. And I'm 51. I've never heard anybody talk that succinctly and was able to connect the dots and make policing the way it should be. And so when I say that, I agree with both of you. What I'm saying is that I understand your concern, Mr. Lee, in terms of the 12 police, and then he said no, but I think that it could be the 12 police, but it needs to be the group in a black neighborhood. Some of those police, maybe 40, 50% of the police need to be black. And the other thing is, just real quick with that, and everybody's got their cameras on. And I think with a black police, if I'm approached by a black police the way that he is, I'm going to listen. 9 times out of 10, most people, if you talk to them and you make them make sense and you get them to understand common sense is where we're going to go with this conversation, and you got a camera on and everybody's got their cameras on, that would diffuse the whole situation. When you got 12 white police going into a black neighborhood, that's a problem. That was like war right there. So I'm just saying a connection of black and white police and somebody to be able, with the cameras on and being able to talk the way he talked. That's the way policing is supposed to go. Now, let's go back to what you wanted to talk about him as a businessman. Now, first of all, we know 4 times he went bankrupt. I mean, he was in bankruptcy. So I just wouldn't give anybody my business to be my CEO if you've been in bankruptcy 4 times. I'm gonna let you run the country, and you've been in bankruptcy 4 times. I don't think so. I mean, the only talent this man has, and he's a genius with it, is marketing and able to bring attention to something. But where the rubber doesn't meet the road, or where the buck doesn't stop here, is that this guy is not. He's not. What's the word? He's not disciplined enough to actually know the material that he needs to know behind the marketing. He can run up his mouth. He's like a auction dude or a smooth car salesman, but then he knows nothing about it, And so he can do all of that. So from a business standpoint, he's a good marketer. Outside of that, the guy is not willing to do the study and come up with it, and then he wants to fall back to racism, and that's how he rolls, or that's how he conducts himself. So I think he's a failed business person. I think he's not even good in business. I wouldn't have him as a business partner, even with anything. So 4 times in bankruptcy, not disciplined enough to learn the issues at the level of presidency, and a con man and a genius at marketing. You got to have everything. You need to have a track record that you're good in business. With I'll give you 1 or 2 bankruptcies. I'm not going to give you 4 bankruptcies. And you got to be talking intelligently in an intelligent manner and have experience like the man right here, that the law enforcement. That man talked intelligently. He broke it down. You felt I was at that incident where he was talking to somebody, and I understand somebody's talking loud. I felt that's who needs to be police chief. You know what I mean? And so just talking in a big mouth. This is not. He's like a professional wrestler. My man was on Ric Flair. That was the man. Ric Flair was the man. They can talk a whole lot of stuff, but when it comes, Flair could pretty much back it up, but this guy cannot back it up. So he's not a businessman. He's dangerous, and he's only concerned about making profit for himself. Everybody, please go out and vote. Vote early, and we might have a chance, and I think that we can win. I would say this on the election side of things, very briefly, real quickly. The bottom line is, I'll stop just in case you want to say something.
No, don't go ahead. Go ahead and talk about the election. That's actually where I was going.
Okay.
Next was to talk about the election. So definitely express your thoughts on the elections and where we should be doing in terms of getting out to vote and how we should be mobilizing our forces. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. Now, with the Kamala Harris, that's why I stopped Kamala Harris back there. I got that on top of Trump's head and on the cover. She's going to get the black. What they don't realize, black women are serious. If you're going to kill somebody, don't kill a black woman, please. Please, kill a black man. If you're going to do it, don't kill a black woman, because they're not going to stop in Kentucky until they get justice, because black women are not going. They're not going to stand for that. So the connection is you got a black woman as VP that's also Indian woman and stuff like that, and she's a woman. So black women, AKAs, Kappas, everybody, Deltas, they coming out in droves. All of those people, black women are the most educated population in the United States. They're going to vote early. That group is coming out. Brothers, I guess they're going to hold our hands and push us out there. We're going to come out as well, so you're not stopping that block. The other problem that Trump got, he's got the problem of that Midwestern guy. That Midwestern guy is not the racist Southerner, white guy. Those are not the two. They're not the two. They're not two people. Because if you remember, Lincoln, he lost the South. He won the Midwest, New York, and that's how he became president. He did not win the South. The same strategy is going to go here, Midwestern. And we're really not that racist of a country that you think we are. Because if we were so racist, We wouldn't have elected a black man 2 times. We would have elected 1 time. Okay, well, we're not going to do it again. We elected him 2 times. I think he won by more than folks the second time than the first time. So majority of us, we're not that racist of a country. Believe it, we are a racist country. Don't give me this racism out there. I mean, everywhere way but loose. But overall, we're not as racist as Trump, Mr. Trump, Reagan, whatever you want to call him, as he tried to portray himself to be. Nixon, you can throw Goldwater, all of them from the same school of thought. But what I'm saying is that Midwestern who voted 2 times for Obama, 1 time for Obama, is going to vote Biden. That's a white man, so they're going to vote for him. Okay, educated white people, I want to be racist. Some of them, I want to be racist, but you know what? I got to vote my pocketbook. This man going to destroy the country. The elite, they already made up their mind. He's not going to be president. The elite, and rich white people. This man is not going to be president. That surprise September surprise I told you about before, number 1, that was orchestrated by the powers that be, white elite, and they said that story's coming out, and they got about 5 more stories they're gonna drop on Trump. Okay, that Bob Woodward, that's orchestrated by a group of wealthy people. This man is going to destroy our country, and we're not going to be able to make our money overseas, and we're going to be second, third, or fourth, and we're going to lose money. They're not going to let one little clown steal the show. They're just not going to let one little clown in the White House steal the show. They're just not going to do it. I mean, there's other things, severe things that could happen, but we won't go into those. But I'm just saying that's not going to happen. He's not going to be in that White House January 26th, 21st or whatever, 22nd. He's not going to be there. He knows he's not going to be there. He probably got a phone call and they told him you will not be in that White House January 22nd. I promise you. And they told him, I promise you, you're not going to be in that White House January 22nd. That's why he's freaking out.
Yeah, you're probably right. He's probably freaking out, probably trying to figure out where he's going to go and things of that nature. I've even heard some people speculating that he might be trying to leave the country because I know there are a number of parts of the North America that actually would love to prosecute him, including New York, where you used to live at. So I've heard that there are some people that as soon as he steps out, he might even be facing criminal charges. I know that same accusation was put out there with Clinton because of some of the things that they were involved in, and there might have been some other presidents that have been put out there as well. But it's my opinion, and I would love to hear from both of y'all whether y'all agree or not, but I think that this may be one of the presidents that will come the closest to being arrested right after he comes out of office, if he's not arrested or if he's not prosecuted in some kind of way. So I'd love to hear whether y'all think that is something that he may be facing once he gets out of office, or do you think that he's moving to Moscow?
I'll go second.
What do you think, Dean? And then,
you know what?
Eric goes.
I honestly, I would be surprised if he were. And the reason I say that is because, folks have we saw the others get, they've been arrested and been charged with different things. But for some reason, I think that even though he's not worth as much as he believes he is, and that's my roundabout way of saying something else, but I'll keep it that way. I just don't think, when have you ever seen a thief call another thief a thief? So, and then the ones are in place, and he's put people in place who now I'm doing dirt, and I'm doing dirt, Mark. Mm-hmm. And Eric, I'm doing dirt, but we all boys. What's the chance that you're going to charge your boy with anything? Slim to none. Now, if he does something to take them off, then it may be a little different. But I don't see, honestly, anything happening to him except he'll show up at certain events like, I was the 45th president of the United States. Oh, shut up. We're on 46. Get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, no one cares now that you're not in office. Please leave. In fact, you want to do us a favor? Stop combing your hair back, man. Just cut it all off, and we might pay you some attention with a fresh baldy. But other than that, I don't think he will be. Like I said, if he is, then I would be surprised.
And what about you, Eric? What are your thoughts? Do you think he will be? You think he's moving to Russia? You think he's moving to another country? You think he's going to take his residency down in Florida? What's he going to do after he's leaving the office?
He's not going to New York because they don't want him. They have no use for him. So he's going to go to Florida. He's not going to get arrested because it's the old boys network, like he said. But what's going to happen, he might get fined. They might fine him. They want to do something, fine him, and we got about 4 or 5 more surprises. We got 2 September surprises. We due for about 4 or 5 more surprises, because if you look at what the surprises they've been throwing out, first they threw out about the military. So we got to denigrate your ability to be respectable even to your group of people, because some of your group of people are in the military. So we got to throw that story out, because you said it and bring it out, that you said that dead soldiers are suckers and losers. So we and see, some of those voters have already said they were Republicans. They're not going to vote for them just because of that. And that was the people at the top got together and made that story come out. That just didn't happen out of blue air. They had the goods on him, and we're going to take it out. And why did they release it now? You're in North Carolina. Why did they do it? Because early voting. So if we can get some of those veterans in North Carolina to switch, that's going to hurt them. We only need 1 or 2% of those veterans to go Biden. That's a white man, and we're going to hurt Trump, and Trump knows it. Second story. What's the second story? The second the second story that now we know for a fact that he actually, through the tapes, that he knew how bad how dangerous it was, and he withheld information, downplay it. That's going to peel off another 1 or 2, 3% of independents that were on the line and say, I can't vote. White independents, I can't vote for this guy. This guy has no character. This guy is immoral. I like the guy. He's a great clown. He entertains me. I laugh every day at the stuff. But I can't. Maybe I can't have him in the White House, and that's going to hurt his chances of a network. So he's going to get probably fined, and he's coming out of there January 22nd.
I believe you're probably right.
What would be amazing is, this thing, if there were one of us that had downplayed this pandemic, and so far it's been like 190,000 people who have passed away from it. Can you imagine the serial killer charges that would have been levied against us if we had allowed something like that to happen?
Oh, yeah, we'd be under the jail. Like you said, you work in a jail, Dean, and we'd be under the jail. 200 life sentences, Jack.
and the Democrats, your liberal friends, would have put you in jail.
Right. They'd have been like, you know what? We were riding with you, but we didn't know all these people were going to die. Somebody going to have to answer for this, right? They'd be like, well, why are you looking at me? Well, because you downplayed this whole thing, and everybody thought that it was going to be okay. Well, death is never okay, so since it's your fault, and you didn't listen to Dr. Fauci when he was talking, you got to go get these charges. So we're going to wait until January 22nd. We're going to let you ride this whole thing out. And then you're going from the White House to the big house.
Yeah, that's definitely what we would be doing and everything. Now, there has been some speculation among some people that, and we've talked about this before, Dean, on the show, but I want to hear what Eric's thought is, that he might try to not automatically leave. Now, we know that there are constitutional reasons that he has to leave, and that there are probably people in the Secret Service that are ready to escort him out of the White House. But do you think that he might try to find a way to delay the results, whether that's crying about the election, whether they're doing whatever. So I'm curious to see what Erick's thoughts are. But I think that you're right that it can't be done constitutionally. But do you think he's going to try a October, or in that case, it would be a November surprise of trying to hustle people that he gets to stay an extra month or two?
Well, I think
that ain't going to work, bro.
Yeah, no, it's not going to work. The powers that be have been calling him. We dropped the Atlantic story on you. We dropped this new story. Our main man, Bob Woodruff, the journal gangster, or you want to call it, he took care of you a little bit. But we got a few more things in our pockets that we're going to drop out that we're going to destroy you if we need to do that. So you make up your mind. Do you want to do business? We'll let you walk, and nobody do business with you. You make up your mind.
Right.
Do you want to walk out and have a 2-cent business, or do we have to take you out and let you walk out broke? Make up your mind what you want.
Or we could send them rogue law enforcement officers to help you move. They don't care. They go ahead and put the paws on you that don't matter.
You got a good point there.
On the wall.
Yeah, it sounds like the handwriting is definitely on the wall, and that's definitely what we're hoping for. The handwriting's on the wall. Sounds like that's what your book is telling him, is that the handwriting's on the wall. So, Dean, I'm thinking we might need to order some copies from Amazon and personally mail them to Donald over there in 1600, so he can see that Erick has got the handwriting on the wall in case he was ignoring those phone calls. So, what do you think?
Wait. Hey, Erick, do you have an audio book? Because, Buddy might not be able to read. You know what I'm saying? You might need to have an audio book because he didn't read that playbook that handled the pandemic. So what makes you think he's going to read a book that's about him? Now, and then his other half will try to read it. You can't understand. Like, you can only understand every third, maybe fifth word. So he's going to need the audio book, man. I'm just saying.
So we'll have to get an audio book for him is what Dean is saying and everything. You missed it, but on the other call that Erick had the pleasure of being on earlier today, but Erick was telling me that he personally doesn't think that he can spell the word swamp, because I was talking about whether he was trying to clean the swamp, and Erick told me that he doesn't think he can spell the word swamp. So it sounds to me like he doesn't have much faith in his reading abilities either.
That man said it's spelled SWUMP. Don't ask him anything else.
But you know that well, his niece has a book out now, and she said that the sister, I think she got tapes of that. The sister said that she did all this homework in high school, and he paid somebody to take his SATs to get into Wharton business school.
That doesn't surprise me. And she threw him clean under the bus and rolled the bus back over him, used one of those street pavers and rolled over it after that. And, a lot of things that people may have speculated, she confirmed. So we know he's not the sharpest knife. In fact, he's one of those rusty knives in the drawer that you need to just put on in the trash. His brain is probably like an episode of Hoarders. It's a whole bunch of junk in there, nothing worthwhile that you can use. So, hey, man, it doesn't surprise me.
Nothing surprising at all. We are at the top of the hour almost and everything. So I do want to thank Erick for joining us here on Trade Talk with Dean and Mark. Definitely a very enlightening conversation. I think folks learned a lot about the book. Erick, if you want to, one more time, tell folks how they can get the book on Amazon, how folks can reach you. Who knows? Maybe somebody from the White House will be calling you trying to figure out how you already know all of this information. So if you want to tell folks how they can reach out to you and also about the book, we would appreciate that. And then, like I said, we're going to wrap everything up. And, of course, I'm lining up more guests for next week and, of course, lining up guests for some of the other programs that we've got as well. But you are now part of the Trade Talk Next Level family. So, like I said, definitely look forward to having you come back and talk about what are the new things that you find out about that person at 1600 whenever you're able to pop in on the call. So do know that you have a place that as you learn more and you want to share more, you're always welcome here to share your insights and things of that nature, because once you become on the show, we just consider you part of the family. So definitely, if you would, tell folks how they can get the book, and if you want to share your contact information, you can do that, but that's on you as to whether you want to share that or not.
Okay, well, it's no wonder that he talked about Obama's education, because he was kind of like grimy and how he, but that's another story. But let's just get to it. So the book is Trump, the Colossal Poison. Erick DeLoach, and you can get it on Amazon. If you want to reach me, you can reach me by email, rickmrqq@gmail.com. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it's rickmrqq@gmail.com. You can, contact me. And as far as I can say to you, gentlemen, I really appreciate, have an opportunity to be on each of your programs. And I really, this was really a dream come true. And I'm feel very fortunate. And any time that you call upon me, I would, I'm there, and I really appreciate everything that you guys did.
No problem. We were definitely glad to do that. Dean, you want to tell folks about the network, what the other programs we've got, and where they can listen to this replay and everything? And like I said, I might have to call my friends in the audiobook industry and see if we can't convert the book to an audiobook, since, like you said, some people might not be able to read. So we might have to get the audiobook version.
You know what? You're going to need it, bruh, because he's going to need it. You know what I mean? But it's Straight Talk with Dean and Mark, y'all. Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here at blogtalkradio.com/squared807. Don't forget to catch the replays tomorrow afternoon and Wednesday at 2 o'clock on the Skyhawk Radio Network out of North Carolina. And if you missed those, we got more replays. We got them on Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Podfollow, Podcast Addict, Castbox, and right here on Blog Talk Radio. We are part of the Level Radio Network, where we also have the shows, the Just Podcast, Mona Shakes with Minority Reports, The Mark Lee Show, Mullings, Music and Memories with Mark Lee, the Plant a Good Seed Podcast, Funk Music with Zach, the Spinach Social Hour, the Online Dinner Party with Mark Lee, the Chef Gang Podcast. What else? Am I missing one? Oh, the Let's Talk About It radio show. And
no, the folks from Virginia Interfaith. So we got those Virginia Interfaith folks sharing their stuff and everything. So
I missed one.
That's it.
So you know what? Like I always say, man, when you walk outside your front door, it's showtime and the world is your stage. Just make sure that people are not watching the rehearsal. With that being said, it's Six-Man Dean Geronimo. I'm signing off. Have an outstanding week, and we see y'all in 7 days.
That's right. We'll see you in 7 days, trying to line up some amazing guests. It'll be somebody out of either the political, the cultural, or the activism world, or the education world, but lining those folks up. So I will get in touch with Dean, and we'll put it on Facebook as to who our next guests were, but you can be guaranteed that they will be somebody that will have some very profound things to share with us, and we're looking forward to continuing these conversations on a regular basis on all of our platforms. So on that note, I'm going to sign out as well. Hope everybody has a fantastic and productive week, or at least as productive as we can be during these hard times that we're facing. But, just because we're facing hard times doesn't mean that we have to stop being productive, because if anything, we need to be trying to find new ways and new hustles and new ways to make change in society, because we can't depend on some of the national leaders and some of the world and global leaders. Sometimes we got to make those changes, as Dean was saying earlier, at that local level. So, yes, we are going through some hard times, and yes, these are some very difficult times that we are going through, but that does not mean that we cannot do our part to be the change that we all want. So on that note, I'm out of here. Dean's already out of here, and we'll see you again 7 days from today.